myself as a queer woman. I was never shunned from my village. I was never shunned from my family. It was I was accepted.
Gail, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate this.
Well, thank you for asking me. I'm
Well,
happy to be here.
it is lovely to chat with you. Honestly, Bloodlines is just such a beautiful film.
Thank you.
I'm speaking with Gail Maurice, the director of Bloodlines and star as well. Gail, it's such a wonderful film. Where did it come from?
So yeah, it's been with me for a long time. The seed of it originated in Regina in a little lesbian bar, and I saw these beautiful Indigenous women, and I thought, wow, you know, what if I took one home? You know, but yeah, so it's I've always wanted to tell a story about a queer love story between two women and who fall in love, and also a story between a mother and daughter, you know, and um, yeah, the trials and tribulations of that relationship. So combining the two um, made sense to me. Yeah.
Well, I love that about the film. Like this is one of those films that I think relationships really anchor it
Hmm.
and keep the film feeling somewhat special. And I mean one of the central relationships is this one with mothers and daughters for sure.
Hmm.
And what was it like working with Dana and what is the greatest challenge of mothers and daughters?
Yeah, so initially I was supposed to play the role of Beatrice, Dana Solomon's role. You know, that's how long it took me to make this film. But then as the years passed, I said, okay. Um, and then I wasn't going to play Leonor at the end of the day, but then 2 weeks into before production, we still couldn't find a character that spoke the Michif language that was fluent. And I needed somebody who could ad lib with the grannies who are authentic speakers from my village. But we'll get back to that. But as far as mother-daughter relationships, yeah, it was you know, I write a lot from my truths, and even in the writing process, I had tears in my eyes. You know, for example, when Leonor is with Beatrice at the clothesline, you know, and Beatrice is screaming at her mom, like I was crying when I was writing that. You know, there's a lot of truths and the way I experience life in my film. Yeah, so it's a lot
Well,
of me in there.
no, I love that because it does. Those moments really feel authentic.
Yeah, yeah.
And for you too, I mean, certainly you have lots of experience in front of the camera. And
Hmm.
for you in a film like this, for you to step into the role of Leonore while directing, is that a challenge for you? Is that, or is it just easy to step in and out of character?
Because these characters had been with me for so long, I was able to, like I said, I wasn't initially planning on acting, but when the time came, I was able to step into the role of Leonor, because I know this character so well. You know, she's she's somebody that you know was in my life for so long. So put on the wig and then became Leonor, went back, look at playback, and you know, made some tweaks, went back. Um, I didn't find it difficult at all because it just um it's like when I speak English, go speak si said, then back to English, it's go speak si. It's like fluid, you know, going from one language to another and going from a director to actor. It in this particular film, it was pretty fluid and not difficult.
Yeah, well, you do a wonderful job in both ways, because
Thank
the
you.
film really feels confidently on film feels confidently driven on screen and
Thank you.
behind. So really
Thanks.
appreciate that. I would love to talk to you about the past and the present, because we certainly see this here as the scars of the past affecting the present, and with especially in their relationship. In your mind, what do you think it takes to heal those relationships that have been so hurt from experiences from before?
Um, I always write my films with, the topics are heavy, or they can be. They're serious, social, uh, commentaries or whatever. But there's also laughter, so in the screening we just had in Saskatchewan, a pre-theatrical release, we took the film back home for family and friends and in the Métis community, and to see how this story resonated with them. And they came up to me afterwards and they were saying, we cried, we laughed, we cried, we laughed, it's so real. And to see the pride that the people had, to see our story on a big screen,
Mm.
supported by elevation pictures. It's just incredible. Like it's never, like, no one, like, I'm from a small little Métis village in northern Saskatchewan. No one from my village has ever made a feature film before. And so initially when I went back home and did auditions, they probably thought, it's like a school play. They didn't never did they expect it to be in theaters across Canada and to be a film like of this size. The three I'm going off on a tangent, but the three ladies that play the Granny Gang are authentic Michif speakers, and I had to go back to my village to audition them because there's only 5 villages in Canada, well, around in the world, that speak my language. So I had to go back and get them. They had never acted before. Some had never flown before. They had never been on set before. They had no idea how big a production is until they came on set and they saw all the crew. And then some of them were like, so intimidated and scared. And then but they were quick, like they charmed everybody. One crew member made a Granny Gang song, and they were also our elders in residence type of thing. So if people had questions and wanted to know about Métis culture, they were totally there and open. And it was I loved the set. I loved going to work every day, hearing my language every day, and being there with them, and it was almost like a little part of home was with me. And I did bring a part of home because that's what this whole film is about, is home. And what makes you who you are. And that's a big theme in my films, is what makes you who you are. Is it the blood that flows through your veins, or is it the culture you were raised in? Man, I went off there, didn't I?
No, this is fantastic, and there are so many threads I want to pull on. This is great. I mean, well, let's go start with the grannies here, because the Granny Gang are unbelievably fun in this film. Like, they are
Yeah,
just delightful from start to finish.
yeah.
And you've been talking a little bit about their experience on set, but did they? I mean, what did it mean for them to bring the Métis culture to the screen like this? Because, like you said, this is only a few villages in the world, and here they have the opportunity. Like, it's a big set. I'm sure it was overwhelming, but
Mhm.
was there that sense of responsibility there to of representing the culture well?
I think they just took it, I think, one day at a time, and they wanted to know their lines, and they realized, because I told them, I said, you need to know your lines. You can't just come here and you're not on vacation. So otherwise I'm going to ship you back home. So they learned their lines, and they realized that, yeah, this is serious business. And so what they were most impressed by is how cared for they were. And that almost made me tear up. these are three older Indigenous women that have had such hard lives. Like they have never been, one of them said that no one's ever taken care of me like I've been taken care of on set, and they didn't want, some of them didn't want to go home, because they were so well, like they just had to say something and everyone was at their beck and call and they had never experienced that before. And for that, I'm forever grateful for the crew, which showed like just utmost respect and care. And yeah, so their experience was, um, you know, something that they'll remember forever. And they talk about it a lot. Yeah. But I also want to say, so they're authentic Michif speakers. I want to talk about Dana for a second. So she's an Anishinaabe, so she didn't know. She's not a Michif speaker at all. So she had to learn her lines. And I recorded them. I think about 2 months prior we might have hired her. So I recorded the lines for her. She learned them, and not only that, but the nuances. Like if you
Mm.
don't know a language, like you have to know when to have inflection, when to have emotion, and she was able to bring that all to the screen, which I'm forever grateful for. It's not an easy thing to do as someone as an actor who's acted in different you know languages before that I didn't understand. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've brought up something wonderful about this film is the like and said before, but the idea of reclaiming our identity, and
Mm-hmm.
that is so important in this film, especially for Chani's character. Can you talk about that, about the power of become? I think there's a line that talks about feeling whole.
Yeah.
Can you
So
talk about that?
yeah, so like I said, I write a lot from experience, and I have a white dad that I have never met. And so there's a scene in there the where they go to adult adoptees in search of their families. And so that scene where the young guy is talking about his experience, that's the experience, my real experience. So so like I said, there's a lot of me in this film and in all my stories that I tell. And I wanted to tell a story that talks about identity and culture, So technically my blood is half white, technically I'm half white but there's nothing, I would never, ever, ever identify as anything but Métis and a proud, strong Métis woman because I know my Michif language. I was raised in my culture and my heritage. I look Indigenous. There's nothing, absolutely nothing about me that is English, So I've always been curious to explore that. What is, how does that look? Just talk about those issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for these characters, you can certainly see that every piece of their past that they're able to bring back makes them stronger
Hmm.
in some way, and I think that's such a beautiful story to tell.
Thank you. And I also wanted to talk about like the welfare system, social services, and how they take away uh, children, and I wanted to do it in a way that blended into this story that I'm trying to tell. Yeah.
Well, honestly, without saying too much, I don't want to give away the twists of the film, but that's one of the things I thought was so interesting about this film is it takes these moments, these incredibly important issues, and embeds them in the characters
Hmm.
so that we're still speaking about those issues and
Hmm.
we see the damage that's been done by social workers and all of these things in the past.
Hmm.
Yet it it isn't a film that's solely about that. It's a piece of who they are in bringing their
Yeah.
identity back together, and I think that's why
Yeah.
it works so well.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell a story about forgiveness and basically um, a celebration. At the end of the day, it's a celebration of um, like my culture, and it's a celebration of um, yeah, love. Love at the end of the day is what conquers all. And also, I wanted to tell a queer love story and how myself as a queer woman, I was never shunned from my village. I was never shunned from my family. I was accepted. And I wanted to tell a story where it wasn't an issue because it was never an issue for me. It was just my reality of these, of who I was as an individual, you know. Never once was I judged, never once did I feel judged, you know, even in the screening in Saskatoon, um, I'm talking about being queer and that's like everyone, it's not even a thing. And then
Mhm.
afterwards, you know, someone came up to me, a young woman came up to me and she was hiding her face with her hair and said, she didn't even look at me. And she said, I'm gay. And her mom was standing beside her and she whispering, thank you. And I said, I'm proud of who I am. I've always been proud of who I am. I think I'm a kind-hearted, beautiful human being, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that aspect of the story, the romance and the love story there, I that did strike me that way,
yeah,
that it's not a big deal here.
yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it's
that's
not.
why I didn't come, oh, is this question a big deal? Because in this story, it's just what life is. It's just their
Yeah.
relationship. It's just who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
expression of that, which has its
Yeah.
perils in this film,
Yeah.
but it's not coming from the community
Yeah.
at all.
Mm-mm.
There's real joy in that storyline. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love the grannies too. Like I said, they represent the laughter,
Mm.
and the mischievousness because elders can get away with anything and they can tell you how it is. And I wanted to bring those characters in. And I don't know if you know, but my mom plays Josephine,
I didn't know
the
that.
the driver. Yeah, so that's my mom in real life.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Okay,
yeah.
so your mother was there while you're playing a mother and having trouble with your daughter.
Yeah, so there's a scene where I play Leonor and my mom plays Josephine. We're in the kitchen. And that scene was when I did that with her, it was, I think, one of the most surreal, most powerful moments, yeah, that I can think about. Like to look at my mom in my mom's eye, me, so mother and daughter playing these two characters, but and saying things like, I wonder my daughter will ever forgive me. And me saying that to my mom, it's like it was, uh, yeah, and kudos to my mom. She stayed in character, but we were looking at each other in each other's eyes, and she was, she was crying and stuff, and in character. So I'm so grateful for her for just being able to do this role.
Oh,
Yeah,
Gail, that's so beautiful. And I'm adds another layer to the film. Honestly, thank
yeah.
you so much for the time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank,
Bloodlines
thank,
is in theaters on Friday, July 20, or Friday, June 26th, not July 26th, June 26th.
yeah.
Um,
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much.
much. Absolutely. Have a great
And
day.
you too, and I love your background.
Thank you. Thank you. It's
I
my wall of madness, pop culture
love it.
madness.
I love it. Okay.
Thanks, Gail. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.